Hey, what's going on, guys? The first thing worth talking about is the new content, because that is probably what most people are going to notice right away. The update adds two new TacSim Escalations, and both of them sound like they were designed to give players a fresh reason to jump back in. The first one is the workshop, where the vibe is basically low lights, a quiet space, and 7 hostiles standing between you and the exit. That setup already tells you the whole point is going to be patience and clean execution. It is not just about blasting your way through a room. It sounds like one of those scenarios where you need to read the space, stay hidden when you can, and make every move count. The second escalation is extraction avenues, and that one sounds more like a route planning mission, where the data is already secure, but getting out is the real challenge. That is a nice contrast, because one mission is about slipping through a contained threat, while the other is about reading the environment and finding the safest way out before the response force tightens the noose around you. These are both 3-tier missions, so they are not just quick one-and-done distractions. They are there to give TacSim a bit more structure and replay value. On top of that, the update throws in 3 new TacSim weapons and a new outfit, which is exactly the kind of thing that keeps a mode like this feeling worth checking back on. You get the Stormberg 50 cal, the DRX-2 machine pistol, and the DRS-7's silenced SMG. Then there is the Diamond in the Rough outfit, which feels like one of those unlocks people will go after just because it gives the mode a little more personality. The unlock requirements are tied to clearance levels and intel, so the update also gives players a reason to keep grinding the mode and pushing forward. That part matters because TacSim is clearly built around the loop of earning progress, unlocking more toys, and then going back in with new tools to see what changes. When a game mode is structured like that, adding fresh weapons and cosmetics is not just filler, it is what keeps the loop alive. The other big part of this update is the cleanup, and there is a lot of it. The patch fixes crash issues on Xbox Series S in a few different situations, including resuming from the challenges menu during long sessions, dying during the time to die boss fight, a red room shotgun kill in TacSim, the car cinematic in All the Time in the World, and even a crash during advanced close combat training. That alone tells you how wide the testing probably had to be, because these were not just one single broken sequence. They were spread across menus, fights, cinematics, and training content. It is the kind of thing where you can tell the developers were hunting down edge cases that only show up after a bunch of playtime or after a very specific chain of actions. On Xbox in particular, the controller reconnection fix stands out because losing a wireless controller and having to restart the whole game is exactly the sort of annoyance that can turn a normal session into a headache fast. There's also a fix for PlayStation aiming, where ADS could stop working after bringing up the system menu while aiming, which is one of those bugs that sounds tiny until it happens to you in the middle of a mission. Achievements and challenges also got a huge amount of attention, and is the kind of thing completionists will care about immediately. A bunch of unlocks that were not triggering properly have now been fixed, including a legacy of Spycraft for your eyes only, Casino Royale on EGS, Keep Moving Forward, Recovered Assets, and Technologist. There are also several mission challenges that were not completing the way they should, like Traveling Light, Nothing to Report, 8 for 8, Closing Time, One Man Army, Firestarter, and Turret Aficionado. That is a pretty strong signal that the update is not just about adding content, but also about making sure the game actually respects the work players put into the content that is already there. Nothing feels worse than doing a perfect run, meeting the conditions, and then watching the game act like none of it happened. So a patch that clears out that kind of mess is always going to matter more than it might look at first. There are also some gameplay fixes that sound simple on the surface, but make a real difference while you are actually playing. Bond no longer gets stuck in that weird climbing animation where he just plays the motion in place instead of vaulting. That kind of issue is annoying because it breaks the rhythm of movement and makes the controls feel unreliable for a second. Gadget input buffering was also adjusted, which should help cut down on accidental resource usage. That is the sort of change people may not even think about until it is gone, because when you are trying to move quickly through a mission, one mistaken gadget use can throw off your entire plan. There is also a fix for the game locking up in offline mode on Epic Game Store, plus a fix for online disconnects on PS5 during longer sessions. So again, this is a patch that is clearly trying to clean up both the obvious stuff and the background friction that can make a session feel off, even when the core gameplay is still working. Then there is the UI and HUD side of things, and this is where some of the quality of life work really shows. Objective timers were showing as 0, 0 as 0 when the tracked objective changed, which is the kind of display bug that can make the interface feel broken, even if the mission itself is fine. The shockwave camera and smoke pod images in the journal were showing black images. Escalation tiles were all showing 100 intel, no matter the actual tier. The DRX2 machine pistol ammo warning could stick around after switching weapons, and the reinforcements timer in extraction avenues could reset and just sit there instead of disappearing. These are the kinds of things that do not always stop you from playing, but they chip away at clarity. In a game with stealth, mission planning, and gadget use, clear UI matters a lot. If the interface is even a little misleading, players start second-guessing what is actually happening. Fixing that is a big quality boost, even if it does not look dramatic in a patch note list. The cinematic and audio work is pretty extensive too. Main menu videos were playing too fast after waking the console from standby, cinematics could speed up after pausing and unpausing during briefings, and PC players could trigger accelerated scenes after alt-tabbing and resuming with a controller. Those are the kinds of bugs that make a game look sloppy, even when the actual mission design is fine, so it's good to see them addressed. Audio got a lot of attention as well. Subtitles not matching Bond's voice lines after takedowns or at the end of combat, Monroe's missing lines in the sidestep tutorial, weird back-to-back voice delivery, lip sync issues during the elevator ride and Out of the Ashes, repeated announcer lines, loud Taxim completion sound effects, and subtitle mistakes for Waters are all the kinds of details that can make scenes feel less polished. Fixing that stuff does not just make the game quieter or cleaner, it makes the story presentation feel more intentional. When dialogue and timing land properly, the whole experience feels more finished. Localization also got cleaned up, and this is another one of those areas people sometimes overlook until they spot something clearly wrong. There were fixes for Japanese variables showing as raw text instead of icons, Spanish translation issues, and a few challenge descriptions that were referencing the wrong job or missing proper location information. There was also imported localization for TacSim content, which is good news if you're playing in another language and want the mode to feel fully supported instead of half-finished. Stuff like this matters because it is often the last layer of polish players see. You can have a technically solid game, but if the text is off, the tone immediately feels less professional. The fact that this update touches that area tells me the team need to tighten everything up, not just the most visible combat or progression issues. And then there are the mission-specific fixes, which are honestly the longest part of the whole update, because there were clearly a lot of small world bugs scattered all over the campaign. In His Majesty's Secret Service, All the Time in the World, Beyond the Grave, Uninvited, Case Closed, Nightfall, Time to Die, Against the Odds, Man of the Hour, Wave of the Future, and for England all got their own sets of fixes. We are talking about characters appearing too early, NPCs walking in circles, floating objects, weird clipping, doors behaving wrong, invisible walls, broken collision, objects getting stuck to Bond, mission flow issues, camera problems, enemies acting strangely, and out-of-bounds spots that should never have been reachable. A lot of these are the sort of bugs that only show up if you push a mission in a weird direction or retry a checkpoint at just the wrong moment, which makes them hard to catch but still worth fixing. And when you see this many notes across this many missions, the bigger takeaway is simple. The game is being tightened up piece by piece, so the story campaign should feel more reliable and less prone to random interruptions.